Okay folks, let's see what this is. This is something interesting. Let's see if we can make it turn up a treat. I don't know how big it is, so I don't know how it's going to look. I don't know how big we're going to make it. My intuition's telling me it's 160 by 160. Okay, let's see what we have. We have here a piece cut out of a magazine of some descript, a magazine, don't know what one, but it's an interesting one. I think we're going to maybe cut it off there where that person is. We're going to use that person as a reference and just try and approximately put it there. It looks like a city of the future, although our world doesn't look that way. Bit of escapism, I do think. Yeah, that looks interesting. It looks really dark. Do wonder if maybe we could enlarge it a little bit less. Looks interesting, the colours and all that. I think it's 160 is too big. Going 140 by 140. I don't know how that's going to look. Yeah, it looks a bit, yeah, that looks nice, that there, but it looks a bit short. I do like this piece here, that looks interesting. I do think maybe the horizontal will have to be, I don't know, this is a difficult one, folks. It's not as easy as I was hoping it would be. Just trying to scratch my head, folks, wondering what to do next. Maybe the horizontal could go 160 and the vertical perhaps 130. Don't know what happened there. 120 for the vertical. Don't think that's going to work somehow. Yeah, we've got too much there. Wondering if maybe we could emphasize this section, or maybe that's a tough one, folks. Maybe we can make it a bit smaller. Maybe we could enlarge out some of those clouds, perhaps. Maybe we could just make it vertically a bit bigger, maybe make it 130. The horizontal could be 180, and the vertical could be 130. Yeah, that looks better. It's nice to have less of those clouds, but we do find I don't want that. Do wonder how it's going to look. Maybe it'll look better. That's a good question. Maybe we could crop it like that. Maybe emphasize more of that by putting it at the top rather than at the bottom, so we can enlarge off the unwanted stuff. We can enlarge off some of that, and we're just going to keep this. So we just have to put it along the edge. I do think we're going to cut it off there. So we're just going to quickly place it like so. We're going to use A4 to A5 as a reference, or just on that edge, the 8.5 thingamajig. We're going to use that as a reference. And let's see what we can do enlargement wise. So I'm going to go 200 for some reason. My intuition's telling me to do it. Simple enlargement. We can make adjustments as we go. Yeah, that looks really nice. Now we've got more of that stuff there. We still have a little bit of that ship, which we didn't want, but we don't want to go too far up because we don't want to make that too much of a what's his name? I don't know. Wonder if we're going to move it up a little bit or whether we're going to keep it like that. We're just going to move it slightly up. Just a fraction-ish. And we've got to make sure we don't get that to the edge. So difficult, folks. But it's not easy. Art isn't an easy thing, folks. People think that because I'm using a machine, that it's easy. That because I'm using a piece of equipment that's designed to make life easy, that it's an easy job. That what I'm doing is easy. But folks, make no mistake, photocopier art is like any art. You got to have skill, and you got to have both the ability to learn the equipment and to use and to be creative with it. Being a photocopier artist does not abscond me from knowing how to be creative. I do think maybe we can enlarge this a bit on the vertical, but basically just because I'm using a machine does not mean necessarily that it's going to be an easy task, because what I do is I try to push the boundaries of things, and it becomes really difficult. And art is just, you've got to have skill. I mean, sure, painting and drawing is indeed a skill, but it's not for everyone. Now that looks really quite nice, that does. Wondering, I do think maybe looks a bit of a void in there. Wondering if we're going to maybe enlarge, I don't know. I'm just wondering, it looks nicely framed, but there doesn't seem to be much happening there. Just wondering what we're going to do with it, folks. that's going to be the centre of the job, but there's not much there. There's just not much in that area there. Wondering, my intuition, I'm noticing. So I do think maybe we could enlarge that up, stretch it, and make it into something really abstract. I don't like the way it's horizontal. However, I don't know how that's going to work. We're going to really put the gas pedal down when it comes to enlargement. We're going to make this something really, really big. We're going to make this a huge, huge enlargement. So we're just going to take the horizontal and really stretch the shit out of it. So we're going to make it 300. So we've got to think outside the box, you know, and being a photocopier artist, you often do end up thinking outside the box, whether it be the photocopier itself or the art itself. Now that looks interesting. The stretch, we could stretch it further, but that looks interesting. Maybe a bit on there. But basically, we've got to think outside the box, and we've got to think outside the usual things. It's not an easy, doing this art isn't easy, as you can see, folks. Sometimes you have to change what you're going to do with it. You know, you can't always, sometimes it does work out, and it works out really easily. You get those times when it's like a fluke, where things just happen spontaneously, and then you get times like these when things are not as spontaneous. I thought this image was going to be a breeze. Okay, sometimes photocopier art is easy, but then art in general can be easy. What about people who paint canvases in single colours or white or black? What about those sorts of people who just paint, who create what would be classified as minimalism? You know, how can that be, you know, how can that, I don't know, folks. I really get twisted up sometimes in all these things. Art is indeed a very subjective thing. It can be extremely subjective. What may look good for one person may look like a piece of shit to another. Yeah, that's looking good. Still needs a bit more enlargement there, I do think. Maybe a bit more horizontal. Maybe we can go the full 400 for the horizontal. Here. Well, this is going to be a prolongated demo. I do hope it works. But some things, you know, you think that they're going to be easy. I thought this one was going to be one of those nice, easy jobs to do, but not this time. I do think maybe a bit more on the vertical. I think 400 by 400. 400 by 400 looks like the goer. We're just going to make it full ratio 400 by 400, but we're getting the intuition here that I should maybe move it down a bit, but basically, but you know, folks, this is what I'm saying, just because I'm using a a machine doesn't automatically, pardon the pun, mean that it's going to be easy. This one's not going to fit on Instagram, this piece. I was going to put this on, as usual, on the thing called Instagram TV, which is the Instagram's service for longer videos, but it looks like it ain't going to fit. It ain't going to fit. Now this is as big as it gets. We can't go any larger. I don't know if this is going to be any good, or if we're going to have to make this as a master copy. This is basically pushing the limitations of my enlargement on this silly machine. I wish the company Konica Minolta could have given us more enlargement, like maybe 1,000% enlargement. Of course, Konica Minolta are just stuck in a money-making rut, so they can't think outside the box. They're fucktards. The man who runs Konica Minolta, his name is Showa Yamana, is so full of boring ideas. He doesn't have any ideas. He talks about, he's got the company has the slogan, giving shape to ideas. But even if I told Konica Minolta, if I could speak to them, saying, well, why don't you add more enlargement? Well, maybe they're not going to. They're just going to stick with the shit just because they haven't got any creativity or any desire to take calculated risks when it comes to changing equipment. The equipment's boring. It just doesn't change. It changes the way the screen works, but doesn't give us any new features or any extra enlargement. In the old days, enlargements used to get progressively bigger when you got new machines. Nowadays, they don't do that anymore. It's all about staying stuck in the rut, money-making rut. So I don't think this piece is any good as I'd like it to be. I could be wrong. We'll soon find out. But basically, photocopier art isn't always easy, folks. And the limitations of the equipment, I could have done with some extra enlargement strength in this. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what to say, but it looks interesting. I think now we can call this demo quits.